Friday the 13th. This past September, on another Friday the 13th, I not only got to visit Blairstown for the first time in my life, but I also got to visit the original Camp Crystal Lake, Camp Nobi Bosco. Several areas within the small town of Blairstown, New Jersey were used in the filming of the original Friday the 13th from 1980. Here is the welcome sign on one of the roads that enters Blairstown. The first place we visited was the Blairstown Diner, which is used later on in the film when Steve Christie visits and has a bite to eat. We stopped there first not only to grab some breakfast, but to beat the crowds before the place got packed. And it did. Here was the poster at the booth we sat at. I always liked this shot from the 2009 remake. Another Friday the 13th poster with the remake hockey mask in the background, all with a nice little red tint to it. Here's another poster of the remake Jason. There was a surprising amount of remake imagery inside the diner. Here is another area of the diner. You can see the decorations they had put up with the red lights, the knives hanging from the ceiling, and all the handprints. Just really set the vibes. Another Friday the 13th poster, which I've seen plenty of times, that has this little sad looking Jason on there. Lots of stuff on this wall. On the left, there are some magnets and what looks like a kid's drawing of Jason. In the middle is a Ken Kersinger signed photo of Jason from Freddy vs. Jason. Underneath that is some newspaper clippings of someone cosplaying as a Part 8 Jason and what appears to be a Freddy visiting the diner. On the right, there is a signed photo from the fan film Friday the 13th Vengeance, another sweet drawing of Jason, a nice looking Killing It Jason poster or something. Not sure if that is fan made or store bought. There's a Crystal Lake Tours lanyard hanging from it as well. A small photo of a cosplayer dressed as Part 7 Jason. Then at the bottom is a small poster for another fan film called His Name Was Jason. I should probably check out some of these Friday the 13th fan films since I've never watched literally any of them, and they're not making any official movies. This area is up by the register, some signed Jason mask, the cheapo ones, of course, and then some photos of Jason cosplayers. When you first come inside, there is some Blairstown Diner t-shirts and hoodies you can buy. And obviously, I had to get myself a shirt, but now after going through these photos, I kind of want a hoodie. This is all on the windows as you go into the front door to the diner. Lots of drawings, Jason cosplayers, and a flyer for some event featuring the man, CJ Graham. Lastly, here is the menu that we got that Friday the 13th morning. I personally had the Steve Christie pancakes. Pancakes are great for breakfast or really any meal as far as I'm concerned. Some interesting menu names I liked were Pamela's French Toast, Kevin's Bacon, Jason's Axe Cut Fries, and the Slasher Burger. If I ever come back to the diner one day, I am going to have myself the Slasher Burger just to see how it is. So that is it for the diner. Now on to the town. So here is the first shot you see after the opening credits of the movie. Annie walks across this bridge in the distance. This area has a nice little pond area with a waterfall and a footbridge going across it. You don't get to see this waterfall in the film, but it is a nice little area. I'm not sure why they changed the design of the bridge Annie crosses, but other than that, you can tell that this is indeed the bridge from the movie. In the very next shot, you can see Annie coming down this steep side street and walking underneath this brick building. What is funny is she's actually walking right past the same area she just walked by seconds ago. What is also funny is that once we were done walking around the town and were headed to the camp for our tour, this steep side street is the road we had to take to get to the camp. So in reality, Annie is actually walking away from Crystal Lake. We saw this random car parked along the street with one of the cheapo Jason masks fixed to the front and a nice little skelly guy in the passenger seat. It was fun to see this though and really reminds you of where you are. Anywhere else in the world, this would stand out as weird, but I feel like here it's just normal. This area is where Annie walks by to go to the deli to ask for a ride to Crystal Lake. The movie theater in the film is red, but you can see now that it is painted blue. This is at the opposite end of the street from where she began, so theoretically she's walking back in the direction she was coming from when she first appeared on screen. And as you can see in the lettering of the sign, there is a showing of Friday the 13th taking place that night, watching Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th in Blairstown, New Jersey. How cool is that? For fun, I filmed a little POV type footage of what it would have looked like to Annie to have walked through the streets of Blairstown. I had to walk back to my car anyway, so I just hit record and started walking. We honestly looked all over the area for where the gas pump location is, where Annie stops and talks to the dog. The pumps aren't actually there anymore, and everything online is so vague as to where it is. We think that this may be the spot where this minivan is parked is where the gas pumps would have been, but we could be wrong. Regardless if this was the exact spot or if it was a few yards away is whatever. To say that I was there is enough for me. The last two places we visited were technically in Hope, New Jersey instead of Blairstown, but it's just a few minutes drive down the road. First up is the Moravian Cemetery, where you will recognize from where Annie is dropped off by the truck driver. I feel this whole area looks exactly the same as it did in the movie. Being a fan of the movie and seeing this shot of the truck pulling up and Annie getting out so many times, when you stand on the corner and you look in that direction, it's just like watching the movie. It's kind of weird, but it's really cool. Here is a closer look at the cemetery sign. The last spot we went to is the spot where Annie runs into Crazy Ralph. But for some reason, the clip I recorded for this area did not turn out good at all. But we did indeed see the spot, but again, I apologize. It might be time for me to buy a new camera. Who knows? So, like I said earlier, after moseying around town, we did go to Camp Novi Bosco and saw all the Camp Crystal Lake filming locations for the 1980 Friday the 13th. The lake, the cabins, the finale on the beach, everything. However, unfortunately, I cannot show you any of the photos that I took from the tour. For some reason, Crystal Lake Tours has changed their policy and does not allow for monetization for any photos or videos taken at the camp. They even told me I couldn't film any videos, so all I could do was take photos. I was a little disappointed, but I think perhaps too many people abused this in the past. I know some have even live streamed during the tour. I was hoping to show the camp off in all its glory here on the channel, but instead this video will just be kept to Blairstown. I still recommend the tour, however, to anyone who is a Friday the 13th fan. It's very fun to see all the locations and is a great piece of history. But if you were hoping to film anything, either for yourself or to make any kind of online content, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Visiting Blairstown on Friday the 13th was a dream come true. I have lived in relatively close driving distance from Blairstown, New Jersey my whole life, so the fact that I haven't done this sooner is kind of odd. The thing I love about Blairstown is that it's an entire town that you can walk around in and see locations from the 1980 Friday the 13th. It's not just one house or one building, it's a whole freaking town. This town embraces Friday the 13th. Everywhere you go is Jason stuff, Friday the 13th stuff, and it's just really cool. Well, that's all for now. Have you ever visited Blairstown or gone on the Crystal Lake tour? Let us know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a happy Friday the 13th. Don't forget to slash that like button, and would you kindly subscribe?